Hi, welcome to Kim's Art Show. We took a hiatus for the holidays. Started in maybe late November around Thanksgiving, and it's already the day after Groundhog Day. And that groundhog saw more winter, and that stinks. Winter is a struggle for me and a bunch of people. When I was little, it was fun, and now we just had like 22 inches of snow at the most recent storm. My struggle lately has been trying to see color in the snow. So today we're going to do a landscape in pastel, and it is going to be stressing about the beautiful colors in the snow. So let's talk about a couple things before we get going. And first is I want to say thank you, right? I started this in August. I have 25 episodes done, so I love that. In 2025, there were 25 episodes. So now we're in 2026, so we'll see what happens as I continue to make this little experiment. I think it's made me a better painter. And so that's kind of like a selfishly exciting thing for me. But I have found so many new contacts from people. So thank you for tuning in, for reaching out, for encouraging, and sometimes for buying my paintings. There aren't a lot left that I have been, putting out there that I have made here. So thanks for that. And as always, feel free to reach out with any questions about any of the materials that I show or any of the things that I talk about. And most important, just keep shining your light. So if you're an artist and you're feeling down, because so many of us do in the winter, just get in the studio, get on your kitchen table and paint. So thank you. And of course, thanks for everyone here in the studio. I appreciate the encouragement that kind of pulled me back because, like everything, you wonder, is it good enough? And it's like, whatever it is, just go paint. That's my job. So here I am. This week, I've been driving home. The light is starting to be out later, and there's so much snow, and the light reflecting on the snow, bouncing all over the place, and the gorgeousness of the warm sunset against everything that is so cold has been thrilling. So, driving home with my husband and then driving back from an art show where I had to collect a piece was really inspiring lately. I'm doing this thing where I'm not buying any art supplies until the end of March. It's really hard, but I have a lot of art supplies, so I was like, let's use what you have. So today I'm working on, this is Sennelier brand pastel card, and it's in this kind of brown green. I don't know that I would have selected this color to work on. However, it's what I had. And like I said, I'm not spending money on art supplies for a little while. And if you've watched past shows, like buying art supplies or going to the art supply store is how I would deal when things were hard, like dropping off my daughter at college. And so, I have enough. It'll be okay. And we'll make do and see what happens. This is, look at how beautiful, right? These are the Sennelier half stick set. So we're going to be working with that. And even though I have all these colors, I'm sure I won't have all the colors that I need. And then I'm also working with these Prismacolor. These are new pastels, NU, PASTELS. And these are like these hard sticks. And so between the two of them, I will have gorgeous lush color and nice rigid lines where needed. I always wear gloves, and I want to try to not just keep my hands clean, but also just keep the pigment separate. So there we go. Today, I'm working on this piece, and like always, I have this orientation and this horizontal reference, but that's okay. I think it's kind of fun to skew things and see them the way that you want them seen. I have a Conti pencil, it's a pastel pencil, again from Paris. They seem to have kind of like the market in really nice art supplies. And what's so funny, I was just talking in one of the classes that I was teaching about Like some of the companies that you buy supplies from have been around since there's a paper company like 1492. It's kind of impressive, like artists have been creating and recording history for so long. So, as always, this is my favorite part, just claiming the big shapes. So, sky, then it's all these trees. So we'll call that tree line. And then, this is the old runway of a no longer in use airport in my town. And it's amazing that I found this place because it's become kind of like my point of inspiration. And when I went to that place to pick up the painting that didn't sell, the one that did sell was of the airport. They were like, "Oh, Kim, your airport." Like, yes, all of a sudden it's mine just because I'm painting it constantly. I like this picture that I'm working from because you can see that even in the dead of winter, like it has beautiful light, but also people have repurposed those runways to do cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, and just walking your pup. Okay, so my darkest darks are going to be in here. And then my lightest light is usually the sky. And then the sky hits light that goes on the bottom and, on the land. And that is brighter now than it is in any other time of year because of all the white snow. My husband was even commenting that there's so much light coming into the house from outside, but even at night with this full moon we're having, because of that snow. All right, so I have this beautiful color, and I've said before, when painting, you always want to have in mind a light story before you start. Sometimes the light story is it was nighttime or rainy or bright noon sky. So in this instance, right, my light story is probably like the sky it was late afternoon, kind of streaking across. But when you work on pastel paper that's dark, you really need to know the light story because that's what you're painting. You are painting the effect of light screaming across this paper. So I started with the really soft pastel, and now I am using a harder stick and blending. With pastel, you might see artists who do this, but that tends to flatten everything out. And so when I work, I try to blend by using color on top of color. It tends to make a little bit more of an active field of your painting. With pastel, unlike gouache or other mediums where you mix from a few tubes, right? It's like you have this imperative to find the color in a stick, and it's stressful because you never have the color that you want. And so I had a few pictures printed today that I wanted to paint from, and part of my reasoning here to do what I'm sketching in was that I didn't think I had a field of blues enough for some of the references. But who knows, maybe I'll try it in another episode. Okay, something else that I've noticed is, we know that trees with no leaves are a certain color, but it's they catch the light at certain times of day so beautifully. And in the wintertime is a beautiful time to study how artists have painted trees. And like I said at the onset of this episode, I'm really working on seeing more color, interpreting more color. A camera doesn't do the greatest job of showing us the colors that are there. So it's my job to show more color. But even that, I am stressing. in terms of emphasis, even though, yes, I'm also stressing, right? Anytime that I start to paint, even though it's fun, it's like there's this funny combo of stress with excitement. Let's see. So this is claiming like big spaces, and you'll see that like this is this long direction, and I've kind of made it squat. That's totally fine. No one sees this, they just see what I've done. And I'm not one who pulls out all the color first and then only works on those sticks. Like as I paint, it's very much discovery of what I want to say. And that's why like I'm kind of working lightly too. I don't want to bear down too much because I still want to be able to layer. And I try so hard to put them back where they go, and that's hard to do. Okay, so now the fun part, right? There's snow, and the snow is like a beautiful light that stretches across. And so directionally, I am making some of those marks. And my poor easel is making funny sounds. All right, so if that's the lightest part of the sunlight on the snow, what is the cold part? Let's try this one. Not bad. And see, like very light. There is still like enough tooth on this sanded paper to allow for subsequent layers. And so just like when I worked with gouache a lot, right, we're doing the main shapes and then the next layer, the next go round of color and detail. Okay, so around here, I have like grasses sneaking up. And see how beautifully that's already layering on? And so as I become more confident with the composition, and I'll step and look at it from a little distance, then I can start to kind of like bear down with the pastel and make the mark that feels more final. But I like what's happening so far. Do I have a blue that's right? That's always the question. Let's see if this works. Nope, not light enough. With winter, I think one of the challenges is to not just have everything be gray, right? Like I have a whole bunch of like gray to black, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, like in that range, almost like just a plain value study. We don't want to see that. We want like more. What kind of other notes are there? I love to draw, and so you can understand that pastel might be one of my favorite mediums because it provides that I can still just kind of use these pigment sticks to draw what I see. So like I was saying, these layers are very like just refine, decide what I want to say. All right. I like it. Okay, so what other colors? Let's build this up a little bit more, and through here. The light that I have is kind of redder, more like burnt sienna, and I think I need it to be more like raw sienna. So let's see what I have. This is more orangey. Oh, I do like it. So holding the long stick on its side, kind of see, like it gives you that sense of the sun was here on all those myriad limbs. The sun was there. And then this is fun too, right? The sun was here. What's really nice about pastel sticks is, you know, we worked in brushes forever, and they were round brushes or flat brushes. But like a pastel stick, depending on how you hold it, will give you every brush, right? And even though I love to paint all the minute details, like I don't have to, I can suggest some, but you can see why someone who loves to paint marshes would love to paint like these grasses just coming through, because with my pastel stick, right, I can like show you each little limb, each anything in that little woodland. So I've snowshoed here too, and it's really fun. And I brought my dog, and we went into the woods, and there were some really beautiful trails. But this one time, we were maybe like, over here is just a big open field. 13 deer came running by. I was like, oh, that was so beautiful. It was such a little blessing to be able to see something so pretty like that. You know, finding that peace in nature goes a long way. So I always talk about the directionality, like, of your marks. And one thing I'm working on is, if I change color, I want to make sure that it's for a reason. Like, do you see the color change? And so over here, it's like the color of the shadow combining with the vegetation makes the blue notes a little more violet. Then over here, they're a little bit less red-blue. And so I'm trying to communicate that, but I might not have the color that lets me. It's kind of like grayer. Ooh, what about this one? That's kind of not bad. Not necessarily right, but not bad. And like I've said before, no one knows this. So I'm definitely taking liberties here. Like, oh no, these stripes aren't exactly, it doesn't matter. That's not what it's about. Snow and winter, they take our rules and they kind of like change them, wreck them. And one of it is, we know that warm colors come forward and cool colors recede, except white changes a lot. Usually you'd have a warm white in the foreground and a cool white in the background. But when it comes to snow, snow in front of you is the coldest it can be, and as it goes back, it gets warmer. And that took me forever to figure out. And on the camera, you might not see, but this color that I just picked up is actually like blue-gray, and it's different from the white, which is here. Let's see if, yeah, that doesn't even look as bright. White gets so corrupted by, like, my gloves. There we go, that's white. So I'm gonna put some white down here to kind of set a tone. And move us through. And you know, depending on how you hold your pastel, like you can like kind of curl your fingers and you can get a different impact, kind of like when I was discussing how a pastel stick is every kind of brush. And when I have the Sennelier larger sticks, I tend to be a little bit more painterly. There's a word, painterly. But with my new pastels, I tend to kind of almost use them like a pencil more. And you can see that like there's information in how I hold the stick. And as I get more confident, right, with how it's developing, then I start to really press in to cover that brown surface. And I started smaller than the paper, but I decided I liked making it bigger. Such fun colors. So there's a purple here. This is kind of like deep teal. And once I have made the light notes, like that impacts color that I put on top. That's now lighter because the layer behind it is lighter. And you know, like each mark, each thing that you have to say, that matters. So here, as I start to develop it, I want to do that, the little details of like the little dots and stuff, but I have to hold myself back because that's like the decorating the cake and we're still frosting it. Also in the back, you know, you're not going to see so many details. So as I make these kind of slashy hatch marks, I do need to blend them a little bit because we don't see as much of the detail as we will in the foreground. Try and remember to put my things back. And I've said before that when I put them back, I try to put them like at an angle so that I know I've used that color already in my composition. Okay, let's see. How can I really have impact? I need a color here, but I haven't landed on what it is yet. Is it this? Nope, it needs to be warmer. And so if you watch episode 7 of all my shows that I've done, it's one that I really love, and it's about color theory. And we talk about so many important parts of color. Oh, I like that. But it's especially helpful with pastel because I'm saying I need a color here, but what color is it? And so that's where I talk about the attributes of color: hue, value, chroma, temperature. And so in answering myself, then I go here and I look: hue, value, chroma, temperature. All right, so now let's get some more layer in here. I'm going to put that where it goes. So through layering, you'll get, right, the approximate color that you wanted. And look how forgiving, and how it kind of starts to tie the whole thing together, right? Like I just went over the whole thing with a pastel stick. I couldn't do that with these because these are super soft, but I do like some of that impact. I'm getting closer to be able to decorate the cake. We know I always have some sort of food analogy, and I like to decorate the cake with those little fine details. So I am struggling to find what color is this? Not where the sun hits, but everything else. Like, is this too dark? Maybe not. Going down again a little bit darker. And as we start to get toward the end of like the fastest half hour ever, you know, I want to see, like, can I get to a place where I could call it done. I'm kind of excited about it. I'm very excited about it. So, I always ask myself, are there places where there's color to be seen? Oh, look how pretty, right? So this kind of really lavendery tone feels good in that foreground. And what it does is kind of, because it's very intense and warm, pulls you in space that this is in front of that. I want to give more of an impression of the sun and what that's doing. Oh, that's exciting. What color? Ooh, look at this crazy one. Does that? Oh, yeah, that works. I could probably even go lighter. There's some little ones peeking through. So I don't like how I made that mark, but it's still good. Okay, I think I like the NuPastels for some of these marks because they really replicate, like this is vegetation, and then I can blend it up. Let's do a little. And let's see. Oh, this is fun. There's some light over here. So in the studio at home, when I put this out to pay attention to and see what I want to change, it'll be kind of exciting because it's my kind of venture back after a little hiatus. And I really love all these colors that I've been able to see in the dread of winter. So if I were to decorate the cake now, it would probably be with this beautiful color that's kind of like an old Cordovan shoe, and give myself some of those marks I love to make and that you would see in the foreground. And that makes me kind of excited. This makes me kind of not hate winter so much. It's kind of a tall order, if you only knew how winter really gets me down. All right, so hopefully when you're driving home from somewhere, you'll look outside in the snow, if there's snow in your area, and you'll feel like, hey, there's some beautiful colors there, just like I did. So thanks so much for watching.